Welcome to the Author to Authority podcast. And today I have my wonderful, beautiful, fantastic, amazing best friend, and we won't tell you how many years, co-host of the podcast, and the book project manager, and I like to call her keeper of the calendar for RTI Publishing, Juanita Wootton-Radko. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Kim. Great to be here as always.
We were just joking before we hit the record button here on Zoom that we usually both wear our hair down. We never wear our hair up for these podcast calls. And we both get on this morning and start laughing because we both put our hair up. Didn't even talk to each other about it. So that's when you know you're really good friends, when you do the same hairstyle and you don't even realize it. So today we're going to be talking about how to end the year strong. And I think this is a really important topic because by the time you kind of hit, mid-November, and I don't know about you, especially this year has been one of the weirdest, wildest changes, with COVID that I've ever seen in a year.
Absolutely. I think that this year, none of us have ever experienced something similar to this, to be able to draw on resources of, oh yeah, this is like the time when I was doing X, when I was working really hard because I was doing that training course, or the time that I got sick, or the time that you don't have a frame of reference for this new way of doing things and moving in the world. So I think that's legitimate to acknowledge that we're foraging. I don't think foraging is the right word. We're traveling new ground and we're laying new paths. Sometimes it feels like we need a machete.
The only thing I could think of, and it doesn't even hint at coming close, was the time when I was a child and there was a train derailment in Mississauga, and I lived in Toronto, and we had to change everything around. Now, thankfully, we were just enough into Etobicoke that we weren't evacuated, but a lot of our family was. And so we had a lot of family come stay with us for like a week and a half. So everything kind of got thrown, right? But even that, that was just a short period of time. I think they were with us about, a few days. I think we decided to make it a week just to spend time together as a family. Then things cleared. They went back home again. And I remember like trying to adjust, but this year I feel like I'm constantly adjusting on the fly with no preparation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think foraging is a good word, because I feel like I'm trying to search, like something gets thrown at me and all of a sudden now I've got to search for this answer. I've got to, cut through all the weeds to kind of find the good stuff to keep navigating my way through.
Yeah, we're having to develop new tools on the fly. We get new complications thrown at us and new technologies added to our task list. And so oftentimes some of the challenge becomes you have to be training as well as performing and trying to keep going. So it's like flying a plane while you're building the engine at the same time.
And hoping you don't crash. But I think like even most years, you kind of hit that mid to end of November and it's kind of like beginning of December and you're like, it's time to slow down. Christmas is coming. But today I want to talk about the fact that you can't do that. It's hinders your business greatly if you've slowed down enough that you lose any momentum that you've gained. I mean, this was a year of adjustment, and so maybe you didn't gain a lot of momentum in 2020. but you don't want to lose what you had either. And I was talking to our client, John Cronemeyer, and he was on the show a while back. So if you go back through, you can see his episode. But one of the things we were talking about, and I had remembered that he had said on his podcast, was the fact that what you do now will produce your business in 90 days. So you always have to be preparing for the 90 days ahead. So right now, this is being shown in November, but we actually recorded this in October, mid-October.
We're time travelers.
Yeah. And, you know, even if you think 90 days from now, you know, November, December, January, right? You know, if you're listening this November, February, it's what you do now matters later. And if you lose momentum now, you're going to have to take the first 3 months of 2021 just to gain back what you have now, if you slow down.
That is, Kim, I wish I had heard that when I had my shop right in the beginning, because of the nature of the product I sold, my best time of year was from September to December, and then January could be good. And then I knew the pattern of February was when things took a sharp nosedive. But to hear, oh, if I plant seeds in November, I'll have the growth in February, that would have been really helpful. And it's not to say that I didn't do some of that, but because my focus was so much on the go of
Christmas.
the get the sales in for Christmas in November, I didn't have the bandwidth to start adding things. Whereas back in August, if I had been preparing for November in August and also maybe written myself a rough outline for, okay, knowing in August that in November I will need to have an idea for February, well, the keeper of the calendar knows how to do that. So it's one of those, I could have had a V8 moments for me, like that's just amazing. And so that also is exciting because that justifies getting another agenda.
So
it wouldn't hurt anybody to have 2 or 3 2021 calendars. Seriously,
I don't have one yet.
If you have Outlook on your computer,
okay, yes, but I don't have any physical calendars.
Right. Well, there's a magic. I know you have a printer.
Yes,
you can print calendars. I find that the single sheet monthly calendar that you can get, I prefer the one from Outlook, but I'm sure that Google Calendar could give me the same thing, because I just want an empty calendar, a single page where I can write in pencil and throw things in, and it can be super ugly. At this point, we're just placing, it's like, I'm going to use your garden metaphor, use a piece of paper that it's okay if it's not beautiful. You're just figuring out where the seeds are going to be planted, and looking ahead, you might figure in, well, okay, here's the Christmas break layout. Some people might have teenagers in high school, and in our area, one of the things to factor in is these quadmesters. So being able to say, just block off the time where realistically, you know, okay, I'm going to have to be having extra plans because I have other people in the house, or I know that this happens in February. I need to be prepared for tax season and have things in a row well in advance, that kind of stuff. If you can throw in the calendar now and at least shade out the days when you know that you don't have the energy or the time, and then you can start planting your seeds and go, these are the weeks where I will definitely need to see my income go up.
It's a really good point. I just found I'm not really a calendar person, but maybe one of these days I'll take a picture of the wall in front of me, because I am a Post-it note person. And even though I don't have the calendar, my wall's getting pretty full of Post-it notes with plans and things and what I'm going to do when. And so, you know, it doesn't always have to be
Send me
a calendar.
a picture of that, and I will plug them into a calendar, and it will make it feel great. And then I'll send you the calendar, and then we'll both be happy. I mean, you say you're not a calendar person? Good. I wouldn't have a job if you were a calendar person.
Well, this is so true. This is why you're the keeper of the calendar. But I am still working on a planner nickname for you. So we're going to come up with something really good.
A pompatus of planners. No, there's... Okay, trivia question. All right, if you are listening to this, write in the comments where the pompatus comes from and what band that there's a song.
There you go.
And there will be a prize. It will probably be the bragging rights to for reference. I love contests.
So, you know, when you look at, you know, your next year, and you really should be planning for 2021 right now. You and I right now are already discussing things for 2021. I'm thinking about 2021, and, you know, what is that going to look like? What things do I need to implement in the business, you know, so that we can continue to grow? But, you know, I've mentioned on the podcast before, 2019 was a rough year. And, you know, when I came out of 2019, I knew I had to change things. And so I spent the first 3 months of 2020 really focusing on putting systems in, bringing in consistent sales, building my network, making connections, working on my core messaging, make it solid, make it stronger. I did all those things in the first 3 months. And it's not that I didn't get sales in those first 3 months, because I did. But it wasn't growing the way I wanted it to, but I knew it wouldn't, because I knew I had to invest those 90 days. I knew I had to take those 90 days and just, you know, really, because things had really come to a halt by the end of 2019. And I was at a point physically where I just needed to take a break. So I did. And I mean, that's the point too. Yes, sometimes you need to take that break. Sometimes you have no choice but to stop, because, you know, your health is important, your family is important. But if you're just slowing down because you're kind of like, well, I don't really want to, and whatever's, okay, that's, you know, that's when you need to keep planting those seeds. But the first 3 months of 2020 was focused, and I had a game plan. And when COVID hit in March, a really funny thing happened. Because I had spent those 3 months planting those seeds, everybody else's business started to shut down, mine exploded. And you see, this is what happens sometimes too. If you don't keep that consistent action throughout the year, and I'm not talking about taking, you know, a week, 10 days, even 2 weeks off of Christmas. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? But I'm talking about, you know, when you kind of already hit mid-November and you're already slowing down, you know?
Things to slow down with, oh yeah, people aren't going to be thinking about my business right now, so I probably won't. See, I used to fall into this trap in August. Nobody is thinking about buying a sewing machine in August because they are out on their boats or they're gardening, and you could probably list a number of reasons why people reasons that people would not want to come to your business. Friends, do not do that. Think of reasons to bring them in or get yourself out there.
Yes.
That is...
that's a poverty mindset. And you really need to shake that. But March hit, and all of a sudden, because I had spent 90 days planting seeds, building, everything exploded for us when COVID hit. It was going to explode anyway. It was getting ready. I knew it was coming, but it just really exploded. So, don't stop your actions now. Mid-November right through till, mid-December, December 20th, we're in part 2 of this episode, we're going to talk about all of the actions that you can take. This is going to be a 2-parter, but you want to end that year strong so that you go into 2020. Because what happens is this, you start slowing down around mid-November, by Christmas, you're pretty well completely stopped. January hits and it's winter and it's blah and it's, you got out of the habit of doing stuff. So it's very hard to get back in the habit of doing stuff. So by the time you finally get motivated and moving, you're now mid-end January.
And you've lost a lot of momentum there.
Yeah, well, you've lost almost 2 months of momentum. And people don't think about it.
Certainly a full 4 weeks but a good point. If you're slowing down by mid-November, that, we're talking 6 weeks of negative growth, as they say.
Exactly. So for this podcast, what I want to talk about for the rest of this podcast is, how do you put a game plan together? Because action's great, and action will get you results, but undirected, unfocused action will give you minimal results. Whereas if you work on, really focused action that's working towards a goal, you see more results. So do you have any thoughts to share on creating a game plan before I get going on mine?
Yes, I think you won't be surprised to hear me say, get a calendar. But one of the things that I find before, I think the resistance you might find and other people might have to the idea of a calendar is it seems too structured, because you don't know when something is going to happen. You don't know. And you're right, I don't know. So before I really use my calendar, I have notebooks that I collect ideas in, either dotted grid notebooks. People use those for bullet journals or whatever. I like them because the nice little boxes, you can check off boxes, and boy, I love that. Or just a little notepad, cheap one you get from the dollar store with the spiral on it. That's whatever works for your easy everyday carry. Have something like that and be collecting your ideas. That would be my number one thing. And I would say block off time in your week and take the time to brainstorm. One of the things I like to use is our calendar that we have a family calendar that has, like, it's huge. I don't know, 20 by 14 or something, a really big calendar, and you tear off the page, and then you have this huge sheet of blank paper, like bigger than a piece of foolscap. And I write down my ideas all over. So basically what I'm doing is a really messy mind map. Sometimes it helps to walk around the house or I'm very visual, so I go, oh yeah, I need to make sure that I get the clothesline put in. I have one of those umbrella clothesline things, so we bring it in so that the snow doesn't kill it. And
it's so sad that we're thinking the snow is coming. The snow is coming.
Well, when this airs, there will be SNOW. I know. But
Yes, that's the S word in our house. You know, like if you hear me say the S word, it's not the bad word, it's the snow word.
yeah, the I find that clearing all of the brain clutter
Mhm.
and throwing it all down on a piece of paper, I can then corral the different ideas, because sometimes tasks that you can't do right away,
Mhm.
they keep coming back, like renewing my license plate sticker.
Ask you about that.
Kim and I were talking about this yesterday, and I'm sure that by the time this podcast airs, I will have had that sticker for at least 2 weeks. And but this is funny because I should have had this done a month ago. But nevertheless, when you have ideas for things and you have to put them off because you can't act on them immediately, either they get lost or your brain decides to be helpful and
Keep
say,
reminding you.
remember that? And you know when your brain does it? When you're relaxed, when you're lying in bed and you go, thanks brain, do I have a piece of paper to write down right now? I do not. And then you try and go to sleep, and then your brain goes, hey, you can't forget it this time, remember? And I'm like, shut up brain. So your piece of paper, and get your rough ideas out, just splash them down on the page and make those mind maps. That would be the big tool, and to free yourself from trying to have future plans and present day requirements and tasks and goals all mixed together like a big messy stew. That would be my tool for goal setting. I'd also say scheduling this and not calling it a rest day. Brain work is real work. I know that I sometimes fool myself and say, well, I'll do that on Sunday when nobody is going to be calling me and asking me to do work stuff. On Sunday, at that point, my brain is not interested in doing work stuff. So yeah. I think
you need that time of rest.
Yeah, that your head work and working, there's working in your business and working on your business. And this is working on your business, and it is valuable and valid.
Yes.
So take that time, schedule that in during business hours rather than trying to squeeze it in somewhere.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you talk about that, but some of my best ideas come when I'm in the shower. I actually my shower time tends to be my kind of dream, imagination, think about things time. Sometimes same when I'm driving out on the back roads, right? And there's nobody around.
Washing the dishes for me, because it kind of flips your brain into I can do this without thinking mode.
So there's times I've gotten out of the shower really quickly and I'm in a towel and I'm dripping wet and I got a piece of paper and I'm writing out stuff, right? Because you got to get it out of your brain. But actually I had a revelation yesterday or today. No, yet. Well, one of the days anyway. And I need to talk to you about it. So we'll talk about it later. And you know what? You guys will be hearing about this because this was a big clarity moment for me in terms of some of the core messaging. So you guys will hear about it a little bit later. So when you were talking about that, I think that's really good. And I think, you know, when we structure it down to your business, I think you need to still continue to have sales goals right through to the end of December 31st.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and then you have to figure out how many people do you need to connect with to reach that goal and set out a time to do it. Now, sometimes that's hard because sometimes we don't have prospecting numbers. So that's an important concept. You need to understand your math in your business. And some of your math includes things like how many people do you have to talk to or prospect or connect with to get a phone call where you can discuss your business? How many
What's
times?
that's a good question. I was once told that you are going to have to ask your question either 7 times or 9 times before you're going to hear the word no 7 to 9 times before you get a yes. And
That's not always true, depending on the prep work you've done before that phone call. But here's the thing. So, you're making connections with people. How many touch points have you had with that person before you've made the phone call? Are they listening in? Are they checking you out on social media? Are they connecting with you? Because there's a lot of things that can go on before that phone call happens to prep them, right? So, it's not always sometimes you're getting no 7 to 9 times, but you definitely should probably have 7 to 9 touch points with that person, whether it be, they're on your email list, whether it be you're connecting through social media, where you're just having general conversations, like whatever those things are, things should be in place before you have that phone call. Person should, before you go into the sales phone call, a person should have a somewhat sense of who you are and what you're doing and how you want to help them. There should be some relationship, some connection there, right? So these things are all need to be planned out into, figuring out those numbers. Once you're having those appointment sales conversations, how many of those do you need to close the sales?
right. So just to clarify what I was saying, I was talking more about the prospecting point, and so that's pre-qualifying your customer.
Yes.
You're talking about qualifying them and then preparing them for being ready to purchase, because often your clients need to be educated as to the benefits of your product.
Yeah, good point. Good point. So the other thing you need to plan in is time to educate yourself and self-care. It's important to take care of yourself. This last part of the year, I've had some struggles going on, and it has been the wake-up call that my best friend and project manager has been telling me about for a while now. And we were putting things in place, but now we've sped it up. And so you need those times as well. It can't always be go, go, go. There has to be balance. But you also need time to educate yourself, because as you learn new things, as you learn new skills, as you learn from people who are further down the road in their entrepreneurial careers, it not only allows you to dream, it allows you to plan, but it also gives you the inner strength and the skills you need to be able to handle the growth. An entrepreneur should always be learning and growing. You should have a nice big library of books. I've got a Kindle full of books that I am continually reading. I listen to the occasional podcasts. I have teachers that I follow. I listen to things to grow my mind, to grow my skills, to grow my abilities as well. And it doesn't, sometimes I just read for fun. Not as much as I used to, but sometimes I still do. And I do things like I crochet. I crochet. That's my downtime. I like the creative process of it. There's certain television shows I like to watch. I don't watch hours and hours. Okay, I can't say that. I do have the occasional day where I do. There's a couple of shows my daughter and I really like. So we do have our occasional binge day, where you watch like 10, 12 episodes in a day. Like we like watching entire half seasons or seasons, But, on a regular basis, I'm not, I don't spend hours and hours a day just watching TV. I sometimes do things with TV on in the background because I like the background noise. But in terms of just sitting and doing it, it's not all the time for me.
I would say, as you were talking about taking this time to educate yourself and time for self-care, what we've learned, because If you don't spend the time on self-care, if you don't spend the time on health, your body will make you make time for illness. And so it's not a luxury.
No.
It is an investment to
Yes.
It's an investment to do things that are healthy for your body and healthy for your brain and promote growth in those areas. It's an investment in the you who is going to be living 90 days in the future. And that's something, whereas if you were working on we've just talked about working on your business in a real daily basis, this is where we need to work on ourselves, certainly on a weekly basis, if not, if you can't do it every day, that makes sense to say, all right, I need to dedicate a certain amount of time for, say you're taking a course to improve a skill in some area. Because I think one of the things that I learned yesterday when we took some personal time is that it's kind of like that, as you were talking about the how we slow things down and we just lose momentum and at the end of the year, it's the trying to do a marathon all the way straight through until you achieve burnout. Trying to do a marathon is so much harder. It reminds me very much of the crash diets that I tried as a teenager. And
you crash and burn diets.
I remember one in particular was it was effective in the short term. It was called either the 21-day diet or the 2-week diet. And I did lose about 10 or 12 pounds, probably mostly water weight, but I lost that weight, but without a maintenance phase, or there was a cycle to it anyway. And then once you were done, you could eat whatever you wanted, but then you had to go back to having like half a grapefruit and dry toast and I don't know, like 3 slices of cucumber. It was starvation. It was the 80s and it was terrible. But we tend to do that in certain type A personalities anyway, tend to do that with our time and our mental resources. And then taking a personal day, it was oh yeah, if I knew that I just had to get to next Thursday, I've gotten to the point where, oh yeah, I'm going to get everything done so I can clear the deck to have that me time.
Yeah. So we only got a few minutes left, so I just want to move to one more topic, and then we're going to close this off and we'll start back up for episode 2. But when you're looking at becoming an authority, okay, there's 3 core competencies that you need to schedule into your plans. So, it's communication, visibility, and relationships. And these are broken down into 6 key building blocks. So your marketing, your spoken and your written communication, your sales, your networking, your social media, and your media. And in the next episode, we're going to talk more about that, and we're going to talk about each of those areas and what you can do to end the year strong in each of those 6 areas to prepare you for a massive amount of growth in 2021. So do you have any final really quick thoughts for us there, my friend?
No, I wanted to ask you the difference between social media and media these days, because I've heard people say that print is a dead medium. Like, no, is anybody getting a newspaper anymore? So tell me the difference between that.
So social media obviously are all those platforms, and how do you use it to gain visibility? Media, on the other hand, is all the other things you do to get yourself out there so that you're moving from a one-to-one model in your business. So where you're talking to one person, you're converting one person, to where you're doing an action once and it's going out to many people and you're seeing many results coming back to you. So media can be things like podcasting, your email list, being on YouTube and doing videos, being on television, radio, anything you're doing, speaking on stages, doing workshops, any of those things that get you doing something once and it's going out to more than one person at a time so that you can exponentially increase your results. That's media. All right, well, we will close this up because we've run a little late over our normal 30 minutes, but hopefully we've provided you a ton of value in this episode. So this has been Juanita Wootton-Radko and Kim Thompson-Pinder on the Author to Authority podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the very next episode. Bye now.
Bye-bye.